Again, you guys, it's always hard to follow Michael Funk. He's always got me in a zone of thinking about my life and life in general. So he's always so good at that. So bear with us. Our whole goal today is to talk to you about your leadership, your district's leadership, and how we can help you improve, expand, or start your ELO program in your community. So that's our main goal. And if we go to the next slide, it'd be great. Yeah, so this is a big moment, right? When I first met Michael, I was the county superintendent up in Butte, and he pulled a bunch of leaders together and said, we're going to move from what's called after-school programming to expanded learning, and we're going to align new standards and make this really part of the school day. And I thought, who's this character from San Francisco? You know, I mean, I remember sitting there in the Hyatt going, this guy's kind of crazy, and I love it, right? Because I really feel that he himself and with the people he brought along with them, including a lot of you on the line, have really taken ELO. There's no one in the country close to what's going on here, and it's a critical moment. But we have to deliver, right? We have to get going. And you know, the first thing that I like to always say is just get going, right? I mean, we talk a lot about our why and how this is going to help out a new model for schools and all that. But as you'll hear from Melanie later, I love what she told me yesterday. I'm just thinking to get something going, Tim. It's not going to be rocket science. It's not going to be perfect, but I just want to get something going so my kids have something. But the how's the hard part. The how and the who is, I think, it. And we'll talk more about that later. But what a great moment for Michael and all you advocates of kids and all you advocates of expanded learning. I will tell you guys this, prior to Prop 49, I worked in Elk Grove District and I ran the adult ed division. And one of the things we did was have after school programming funded through Title I. And we served soup and we got kids to come and we hooked them in for some homework and some things. It was kind of pre-Prop 49, but we saw in our Title I schools in Elk Grove that these children needed more. They needed more love, they needed more attention, they needed more help with homework, they needed more fun. And unlike most kids like my own, they got to come home and sit in front of the TV and play around there. We set up a moment there for them in our 4 Title I schools. And it was the start of what I saw was really great things for kids. Next slide, please. So this is what our goal is. We're going to first reflect on your leadership, because all this starts, I mean, I had the pleasure of working with Julie, and you know, leaders that are passionate about what they believe in make things happen, right? So I'm going to talk about that, hand it over to Julie, who's going to talk a lot about building momentum. Our main goal is to leave you with at least 50 ideas to use, to steal, to beg, to borrow, to go visit. And then we really would like to network with you guys. We'd love to continue this conversation after this one and done. SSDA is here to support that. Julie's in charge. Julie Boesch is in charge of our AB 130 work, and we're not done. CCE's given us funding to hire Julie to help you with anything you need. And then lastly, we want to help you backwards map where you're at in your program, how you want to expand this, and any other things. So the big thing is to leave you guys with a bunch of ideas. So let's move forward and talk about leadership, Taylor. There we go. So we know what's coming, right? You're going to be the largest. No one's even close to us in the country. Not even close. Most people just have chunk change, that's some federal money, if that. So we are very lucky that they're going to infuse ongoing funding and give you a couple years to pilot things. Next slide, please. So look, the great leaders, it's been so hard, and you know, Don and I talked about this. You know, he's leaving after 40 years in this business, and it's been so hard to vision out, right? You're doing so many plans, so many reports, and so many other things. It's like, how do I do this? But great leaders stop, pause, and I always try to tell leaders, go to a spot in somewhere, whether it's the beach or somewhere where you and a couple of your leaders can look ahead. Where do you want to be with expanded learning, with community schools, maybe even throw in preschools? And how do you keep that optimistic and look at the solutions, right? I've always liked to help vision out with great, with program ideas and leaders, but I always say, you got to get into what I call a retreat setting And if you have it in your office, that's just called a read. There's no treat, right? You need to get away where there's fresh air and you can vision out what you want to do and where you want to take things and what questions you have and who you're going to connect with. 95% of the ideas I've always created as a leader have been borrowed from somebody else. I just find great programs. I hustle to go see them and I take them and fine tune them myself. You can't create everything yourself. So get away, get your team away and be with optimistic people. You can't be with negative Nellies or downer Dons, right? It does not work. And I really am a huge believer of making that a retreat. I'm a huge fan of at least 2-day, 1 night or 3-day twos. And you sit, you get away, let people look at people are going to talk about you anyways, right? They're going to say, oh God, Tim took 3 people down to Pacific Grove for a retreat, blah, blah, blah. Well, they're going to say that if I'm in the office. So you might as well make it on your terms and get it done properly. Okay, next one. You know, John Maxwell says this all the time. I like using him, but sometimes all we're hearing is, I don't have enough staff. I don't know what to do. I'm too busy. I don't want to do another report. So you create a problem that's not really a problem. Or, and I think, Julie, you can help me with this one. There's a lot of people that want leaders to fail. And they say, if you come up with an idea, like let's say you're going to start first tee golf, like we did in Butte County, right? In your after school program, there's, oh, you can't do golf. Not all kids like golf. You know, so the crabs are pulling the ones that want to get out of the bucket. Julie, you see this all the time, right? I mean, sometimes you have wild ideas, and I'm sure there's some crabs that want to pull you down and say, Julie, we don't need to do that. I think that's an important thing to think about as a leader, don't you?
I agree. And I think the biggest thing is kind of our philosophy is give it a shot and seek forgiveness later. Yes. Because you may surprise yourself and end up with something that's hugely successful and it was a win-win for everybody. So I'd rather seek for that forgiveness further on down the road. And it hasn't happened yet, but if you don't dip your toes in the pond, you'll never get wet. So we'll wait and see what happens.
That's perfect. Yeah, I mean, I've used this example with kids that are trying to get out of being in a gang. I bought some crabs and put them in a bucket and I have them watch it. I go, look, there's your uncle, there's your family. You're ready to go off to college and they want to keep you in this bucket forever. So think about that. And it's easy. The last one is pretty self-explanatory, but you have to surround yourself with possibilities, right? You're going to hear from some great leaders that are really positive and so take now that, with, you know, these other sources. Next slide, please. So here's what we're hearing. You know, we don't have enough money. 50 grand's not enough. Can't do this. I'm tired. Staffing. You know, and I understand. I'm not in a site, and I really think those are adult responses to leadership, and I think you need to focus in on kids. And Julie's going to Julie Boesch and Julie Jarrett and the rest of them are going to give you ideas how to break through this and what you can do. Do not send money back to the state. I would be so disappointed in any district that does that. That will break my heart. I need you to know that I'm going to fight like hell to get more than 50,000 for your smalls. We scored at least a win there, and Michael Funk is right behind that. So hang in there. But these to me are excuses and for people that don't want to lead in great times. Next slide. So we want in the chat, what obstacles do you have? So we get a little taste of that. And then, you know, there are some reservations, some obstacles, and I gave you some of them. If there's others you have, throw them in the chat so we can look at them and we can address them throughout the day. But that's your first assignment, to stay awake with us, is to do that. And anything we can do to answer those, Julie, we will. And I think we'll kind of list those, but please put in the chat throughout this what obstacles or reservations you have, and so we can read through those throughout that. Okay, so that's your first assignment. Stay active with us. Throw anything you want out there.
It's okay to throw out anything and everything that is an obstacle to you or your staff. We need to know so that we can help support.
Yep. And we also can ask for funding to help provide that technical assistance, right? So if you give us some things, CCE's been really, really ready for us and all that. Julie, is this my slide or yours, Ms. Bush?
It is mine, and I am reading the things in the chat, and some people are putting up really, really, truly challenges that they're experiencing, and we recognize that there are challenges. We also recognize that it's I don't want to say it's easy for us to sit here and be inspiring and positive. It is easy for us because it is kind of who we are, but not because it's just talk. It's because it's what we do, it's what we live, it's what we've been doing, and we are all here happy to help. So I'm going to start into my slides, but continue to read the things that people are talking about. We're excited about the people that have a big vision, are ready to launch, are looking at the changes. And some of the changes we don't know yet. We're still waiting for the actual trailer bill language to come out and be clarified. We're still waiting for the May revise. We're still waiting for a couple of things, just like the rest of you, but we are optimistic. We have hope. We know that there is nobody fighting against the things that we have proposed. And so we might not have all the answers today, but we're going to work really hard and move forward in doing that. So surround yourself with the right people. And this is, call us. We are happy to help you anytime. I'm happy to help in any way, but there are people out there just waiting for the opportunity. And there are people who have absolute passion and drive and desire to serve children in this way. And it can come from anywhere. It can come from one of your parents. It could be somebody's the leader of a community-based organization that you connect with. It can be somebody who you've already had relationships with who come and share with your children. It can be anything. And people will talk about you. Tim said this, no matter what, so make it be on your terms. And make sure that you are sharing. Share your stories. It matters. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. In my district, very small district, this is unrelated to expanded learning, but it is related to advocacy and telling your story. I got here 8 years ago. The facilities were a disaster. It took me 5 years to fight and advocate for my kids. And the way I did that is by going to all of the state departments with pictures of my children and saying, I have 300 kids at the end of this application. You need to understand this is about serving kids. It's not about a piece of paper. It's not about an application. And I was, it was an enormous team, but really drove the effort and was able to demolish our school campus and get 100% funding to rebuild our campus for our kids, because it's what our kids deserve. But that's what it takes, is passion and a heart and advocacy and being there for the right reasons. So Taylor, next slide. Oh, and one of the things I was going to say too, I've known Michael for years and years, since he came to CDE. I was on the strategic initiative teams. He has always had the same heart and the same vision and the same passion. And it's super exciting to see some of this work moving forward. So what is the current expanded learning promise? We're looking at $5 billion intended over the next 5 years, starting with the $1.8 billion this fiscal year. It must be used to expand outside of the regular school day. So when you have filled your program with children up to 6th grade, you can add middle schoolers if you have middle schoolers who want to add. So the intended target is TK through 6th grade, but you can add middle if you have space and time and funding and need. The program must be offered every day that school is in session. And when it's combined with the regular day hours, it needs to be 9 hours. We're also working on trailer bill language to absolutely clarify that. And it says in the new FAQs that were published today that yes, the current ed code does say that the instructional minutes are exclusive of lunch and recess. We're working to change the trailer bill language so that the instructional day is inclusive of lunch and recess. And so it's 6 hours of your regular day and 3 hours beyond that. Those 3 hours with ELOP funding, not with ACES or 21st Century, but with ELOP funding, you have enormous flexibility. You can do an hour and a half before school and an hour and a half after school. You can do an hour before school, 2 hours after school. You can do nothing before school, 3 hours after school. You have enormous flexibility in how that funding is used. Must be offered for an additional 30 days in intersession time. Could be spring break, could be Christmas, could be Saturdays, could be summer, or a combination of all of those to meet those deadlines. Now, I know, now pause here, take a breath. That seems overwhelming. It does seem overwhelming. But right now, we're only called to take baby steps. Right now, we just need to take a step forward. We just need to think about what we can do, what is possible, instead of thinking about what's impossible. So next slide, Taylor. So things to think about. Are you ready to get this going? And some of you are. Some of you have had programs up and running. Some of you have the phenomenal opportunity to just add to ACES and 21st Century that you already have going. Some of you, like me, have programs that you started with LCFF funding and then added to with a full service community school grant, and now are phenomenally blessed with ELOP funding. And some of you haven't had a program at all, and you're at the very, very beginning, and you're like, what do I do? So does your district have a vision of what it will look like? Think about that. Can you think about, or can you imagine what it could be? Is it tied to your mission? Who will lead this? So I'm going to talk a little bit about this as we move forward. Taylor, next slide. So one of the things I feel like is super important, I always tell people, be a problem solver, not a problem maker. I am notorious for saying that. You can ask my children. Be a problem solver, not a problem maker. Look for ways to solve problems. Don't just, we can all sit around and complain about what is. We can all sit around and complain about the pandemic and all of the medical things we've had to do over the last several years, and how we can't find any staff, and how we don't have enough money, and how, you know, all of those things. And all of those things, I'm not saying they're not true, and I'm not saying they're not important. But instead of spending all that energy doing that, why don't we look for what we can do? Look for little things we can do. Maybe right now, all we can do is get the Girl Scouts to come in one afternoon a week. Maybe that's all we can do, but we could do that, and we could at least take a baby step. So we always start with, look at your why. What is your why? Well, for me, students is always our why. So now we need to figure out what we need to do and how to make it happen. So I have, the next slide is a little bit about leadership and then some examples. So really for me, this is the cornerstone of what we need to be shifting our thinking to. Thinking about a growth mindset, thinking about inspiring people and motivating, thinking about empowering people. You might have just the right person on your staff who wants to try to lead this work. Let them try. It's like Julie Jarrett said before, let them try, let them have an opportunity. Let's take a chance. And if we have to, we'll come back and say, that didn't work out so well, but let's try. Let's get it out there. And you can only do that by trusting the people who work with you, and lead the change, drive the innovation, be willing to take risks. And I really feel like it's important to have a shared vision, and stick to that vision with integrity, whether you're working with a community-based partner, whether you're working with organizations, whether you're working with other community partners, whether you're working with other school districts, create a vision, share the vision, and work to that vision with integrity. Don't look for random acts of improvement. Look for creating a plan that you can work to implement, and then give it an opportunity. If you don't give it a chance to be successful and you just keep switching gears, you lose people because they're like, I don't know what we're doing. So I really encourage you to do that and persevere, be consistent, be a lifelong learner, and always look for options. So the next slide, you need to be the advocate for this. Your people will believe in anything that you believe in and that you share in. I kind of had an example of this earlier. And I was thinking of this because I thought, well, you know, just like when you're a school site leader, if you go to your teachers and you say, well, the district just said we have to do this test, and so we're doing this test, and we have to do it on this date, and we have to do it on this date, and we have to do it on this date, then the teachers are going to go, district says we have to do this test and we have to do it on this date, and this just stinks because we don't ever get to make a decision. But if you go in and you say, oh my gosh, we have this phenomenal opportunity to take a look at where our kids are and to see if there's any growth and to see what we've done this year and see if it has an impact, and then look at what we're doing and determine if we should keep moving in this direction or if we should possibly make a change. It really is about your attitude and your presentation and getting the people on board to do this. So, so Tim put on the slide, you can't be a good travel agent if you send people where you wouldn't go yourself. Same with leadership. And so that is actually a pretty good comment about what that would look like. But you have to be the biggest advocate for moving forward, because this is a phenomenal opportunity. Next slide, Taylor.
Yeah, Julie, before we go to this slide, I do have the first trivia question for $20 gift card at Walmart. Now, if you don't have a Walmart, I hope you have a computer to buy online. You can buy some food. So here we go. I'm going to send it to you on the chat. Don't cheat, people. I know some of you people like to look it up. So
You're muted.
give me. Here's the first trivia question in there, you guys. What's the first after school program? It started in New York. In what year? Whoever's closest gets $20 gift card. If you don't have a Walmart down near Waterford, you can actually go online. Oh, no, you guys are way off. Oh, there we go. Sarah nailed it. 1881. She must have saw the movie. There's a movie out on the history of after school. Sarah, send Taylor and I, send me your address and I'll mail you a gift card. Congratulations. 1881, Julie, that's a long time ago.
That's
I think Don Davis started his first job then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don, you don't have to take that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you can. Good stuff.
So, interestingly enough, I did my dissertation on quality and expanded learning. And so on the next slide, and the quality standards at that time either were being developed or weren't quite developed. I loved what Sarah Neville Morgan said this morning about creating the program of 2022. So we can all sit back and say, we're going to do the same things that we've always done because we've always done them. And we're going to say we can't supplant, we can't supplement, we can't supplant, we can all get stuck in that space. But let's not. Let's move forward and create. So let's look for, if it's not you, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're thinking I can't do one more thing, then there might be somebody out there who is hungry for an opportunity. And like I said, it could be a parent. It could be a community member. It could be one of your current staff members who you haven't actually yet identified. I'm going to share with you a little bit about a guy that I am hiring Thursday, and I'm super excited. But the quality standards for expanded learning are listed in the green, and leadership qualities to look for, I listed yesterday in the blue. So quality standard for expanded learning, have a safe and supportive environment. Must communicate. You must have safe physical, social, emotional safety has to be in the forefront. And you need to model that. You always need to model that. If you don't have somebody who knows that, we need to share our plans, our safety plans, train them, teach them about the things that have to happen, because we can't assume they just know. Active engaged learning, look at collaboration, look at community service projects that you can do. We do things like make blankets for the puppies at the shelter, collect food for the dogs at the shelter, collect food for families that are in need. There are tons of projects that your program can participate in. Make sure that you're collecting feedback and that you're creating a program that the children want to attend and that are beneficial for your families, and use the data you receive from that feedback. It's really important that we stay in a continuous cycle of improvement, and that we don't just say, hey, I put it out there, they didn't come, so they don't really want it, because that's not the truth. They really do. I can tell you my board, every single time they come for a board meeting, they're like, I cannot believe that there are this many kids still at school. What on earth? Because they never had anything after school before I was here. So they're pretty shocked, because they just assumed that our community wouldn't use the services. Look at skill building, take risk, be creative, be innovative, and explore. You have to be willing to do that as a leader. If you're not up to it right now, find somebody who is. There are people who are. Youth voice and leadership, active listening, really important. We have here a phenomenal student leadership team. And honestly, I think if you let them, you'd be shocked at how instrumental your student leaders can be. I'm going to tell you, yesterday we had STEM taught here and they did an ocean odyssey exploration for the day. They got here and they said, hey, we don't have enough people to run all of these stations. And so we pulled over our student leaders and they just got elected because we're getting our new leaders in. They just got elected. And I am telling you, they had about 10 minutes to listen to a scientist and they took it and ran with it. I walked by one presentation that had this life-size whale, blow-up whale. And one of my student leaders was like, hi, I'm Gabby and I'm your vice president. And she went on. And I was like, oh my gosh, our kids can do this. Our kids are amazing. We just have to give them the opportunity and encourage open dialogue. Healthy choice in behaviors, lead by example, provide options, model excellence. And this is in relation to everything. This is in relation to healthy eating, in relation to healthy lifestyle, in relation to being outside, moving, taking time out to relax, all of those things. We have to have people that model this behavior as well. Diversity and equity. I hope I'm not going too long. Sorry, Taylor. Diversity, access, and equity. Create collaborative cultures. Yes, Melanie, I agree. Create collaborative cultures, be inclusive in your learning environments. This is important in every environment, more important today more than ever. Welcome everybody, honor everybody. And in order to do this, honestly, we have to pause, know their name, know their story, listen to them, because it matters. And I always say to my staff, if all you do today is take time out to listen to a child, that's all I'm asking, because you may be the only person that did, and that's what matters. And our parents are busy and they love their kids and they want what's best for their kids, but we are there with them all day, every day, and we have the ability to do this. Quality staff, empower your teachers and cultivate leadership skills. Here is where I'm going to tell you a little story about a guy who works for me. He works for me right now in after school, and then I hired him in regular day because he was offered another job. And I said, well, how about if I meet what you're going to make and I give you 3 more hours, will you stay? And he said, sure. And I said, okay, you start tomorrow. And then I said, well, what about a couple months later, what about being the director of my expanded learning program and run my summer school? And so I cannot even tell you, I said, and I think I could pay about $20 an hour. And he said, well, I'd really like about 30. And I said, okay, do you need benefits? And he said, no, I don't need benefits. I'm still under my parents' benefits. And I said, let me see what I can do. And then, so I've been working on it. Last week, he actually presented me with a 9-page plan of his vision for what our program could look like. And he just graduated with his bachelor's degree. Yeah, Melanie, I'm like, oh my gosh. Super, super excited. He's going to be approved by the board tomorrow. And I don't have to lead it because I have Christian, and he's going to lead the charge, and he's going to be the cheerleader, and he's going to be the advocate, and he's going to be telling our story. And I'm super excited about that. So quality staff, look for them. They might find you, but if they don't, there are people who have promise out there. Have a clear mission, vision, and purpose. It works really well if you work with community partners and it aligns with what you're doing in your district. But if not, you can at least have shared goals. Like if you don't have a completely aligned mission and vision, you can have shared goals, and they might be team building, and they might be leadership, and they might be, those things we can all buy into. Collaborative partnerships, build community, tell your story. All of your relationships matter, and they really do. Think back, honestly, those of you who are really struggling, all of the relationships I have right now, working in expanded learning, working in community schools, these are relationships of people that I knew along the way someplace, or they knew my son, or they knew, because we all have these relationships. Maybe it's time to think about them and reach back into the past and pull somebody up and give them an opportunity you knew they could do before, or, just look for opportunities and collaborative partners. I'm almost done, Tim, I promise. Continuous quality improvement. That's one of the quality standards, and that we should all be doing that, but reflect on what you're doing. Work to solve the problems. make decisions. Somebody has to be a decision maker. We have to move forward and look at resource management. And I know that Dawn's going to talk about that a little bit. And then program management. Honestly, the best way to build the best program, show your staff that they care. Expanded learning staff has enormous responsibility, enormous responsibility that occurs after the school day when most of the support is gone. I used to tell my staff when I worked in Greenfield, my site directors, they were like the principals. My lead tutors, they were like the assistant principals. My office, they were like the school secretary. And in order to get amazing people and keep them, you've got to pay them. You've got to have phenomenal working conditions. You have to support them. You have to train them, and you have to have a growth mindset and give them the opportunity, because sometimes they'll fail, but help that be a learning experience and help pull them back up and say, hey, yep, that one didn't go so great, but let's see, what about this? Have you thought about this? And then sustainability, that's always a big goal of programs. If you're working to create those shared goals, you're working to build relationships, and you make a financial commitment, and you have collaborative partners, that sustainability will become part of what you do. It'll just be part of the system, the systems that you've created and built. And that's part of the goal. So we are going to go into a breakout session when Taylor puts on the next slide. So we're going to talk about what is your district and what is or isn't your current ELO program. And think about 3 ideas for who could lead the charge if it's not you. And we understand that as the superintendent or as the principal or as the community-based organization leader or as the whoever it is in your district who's been charged with leading this, you feel the immense responsibility. But maybe it's finding somebody else who has the capacity or has the desire and giving them an opportunity.
Yeah, Julie, great job, by the way. We gave you guys a lot. I will say this, after school directors or leaders have to really have a good business sense. They have to be able to people fund people. And if all you're going to do is rely on your funding from the state, that's not going to cut it. You'll hear a lot more from our panel after this, and I think you'll get a lot of great ideas, but you cannot just rely on receiving money from the state. You've got to diversify, and people, if you get a great person who's really well liked in the community, but also great business sense, it'll blow up for you. So we're going to spend 5 minutes in a breakout. We want you to introduce each other. Taylor, I think we have about 44 people, so maybe 8 or 8 breakouts, and you guys have a good time. We'll see you back in 5 minutes. Rock and roll. Hey, good stuff, you guys. And we probably should give you a little more time. We'll work on that maybe the next breakout, but we're about halfway, and now the best part's coming up. No offense to Julie and I, but it is, we do have our panel coming. And so let's go to the next slide. So we have a panel, and we'll start out with Julie Jarrett from Butte. I do want to say one thing I heard in a couple breakouts, and Julie will reiterate this. So when I was the superintendent, I would come up with an idea like, let's do first tee golf. And I always went to the expanded learning division, went to Julie, because trying to put that on the day staff was catastrophic. It was not going to work. So whether we did coding, whether we did girls on the run, and all these things you're going to hear about. So think about that. If you're a superintendent or the principal here, this is where you really pilot great ideas, and you pilot it with the after school program. And these great leaders are going to give you guys some more ideas. And Julie, we're going to hand Julie Jarrett, we're going to hand the microphone over to you. And you've got some great stuff to share. We also appreciate your time.
Well, again, welcome. Thank you so much. For those of you who have just recently logged on, I'm Julie Jarrett. I'm the Senior Director of Expanded Learning for the Butte County Office of Education up here in Chico. And we have run a large county collaborative since 2001, being fully supported by ACES funds. And it's nice to have the ELOP funds, because now I don't think we're going to be focusing so heavily on the budget. We're more into, like I said before, dipping our toes in the pond and dreaming, which is a fabulous place to be. What's unique for us is we are not a funded LEA for ELOP. So we are in contractual agreements with 11 districts serving 26 of our school sites. So we're out there doing cart and pony shows, letting our districts know that we're really the key partners to work with you in a collaborative fashion to move forward with ELOP. And we've been working collaboratively with you for some of our sites and districts since 2001 with the ACES funds. But some of the things that I've learned over the years is make sure you've got a fabulous team. And those are the ones that are going to rock and roll and make you look good as a leader. But they're also the ones that can be creative and ingenious and take the plunge. And you are there to mentor them to be better leaders than they ever imagined they could possibly be. So having yourself surrounded by fabulous people will give you a fabulous program. What I've told my staff is always be creative, be honest, but most importantly, be real. And this is ELOP is an interesting can of worms sometimes, and it's okay to vent and it's okay to express some concern or some frustration. But as Julie said, there's always a solution out there. So don't always end the conversation with the problem still there. End a conversation or a meeting with a list of solutions so that you turn it into something really positive that you can move forward with. And Tim had asked me to come up with 5 kind of little tidbit information or pieces to help you move forward in your programming. I went one over, I created 6. So the first thing I would encourage you to do is, again, the districts, you're overwhelmed with the pandemic. What I would encourage you to do is create partnerships on the development of your program plan. Again, there is not a deadline. But if you are a brand new site or don't have current ACES funding, that plan doesn't exist. If you have an ACES funded program and you look at the program plan for ELOP, oh my God, it's like a dream come true because it's the exact same document. However, ACES is far greater in depth. So what we did to support our districts is we took our ACES program plan, we basically did minor revisions and we're sending it off to our districts and saying, guess what? Your program plan is done. That's one thing you can check off your to-do list. So if you're flying solo, find somebody who has an ACES program, or if you're a part of the association, give Tim Taylor a call, but connect with that person who has their ACES program plan, because that's going to solve a lot of your nightmares. It's already written. If it's been done, it's been approved by CDE. So take it and start to rock and roll. First thing. The other thing, a little tidbit that we've been discussing in detail with our isolated and frontier sites is, again, the 9 hours is kind of a mind-boggling thought. What I have worked with, not only with our districts, but also my counterparts in our other large community collaboratives, Shasta, Tehama, and Glenn County, is a lot of your students are going to be on buses before and after school to get home. And it takes a lot of time when you're talking about rural and isolated communities. They can be on the bus 45 minutes to an hour. Create things that somebody can do while on the bus rides and count that as program time. You can incorporate some music aspects. You can do some math types of activities, but count that as program time, because that's your captive audience and your students are still with you until they leave that bus and head home. So just these types of creative ways of thinking of how you come up with that 9 hours is the best way to move forward without being burdened with the fact that 9 hours is really a long time. Something that we started to do is, gosh, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, is our focus was sustainability and how do you keep things new and fresh? And how do you provide resources to 24 school sites without purchasing the same thing for every single site, wondering, are they going to use it? Is it going to get stuck in a storage shed covered with dust and never be opened? So we established a curriculum and resource library. And we probably have about, now again, this isn't something that happens overnight. It's grown over 10 years. But we probably have somewhere in the ballpark of about 300 different types of 6 to 8 week curriculums. Some as simple as a binder with lesson plans in it that you can give to a brand new frontline staff person to implement with their group of students, or things as big as curriculum kits with everything you need to do a more expansive type of STEM activity, whether it's coding or robotics or anything that's more in depth, but it's all inclusive. It's a pick it up, check it out, go do it with your kids, and then return it to the office. So think of things that you can create that are sustainable over time, that can rotate between your school sites or even rotate between districts. So the curriculum resource library was a huge hit for us, and we continue to use it. And it's really a great way to maximize your resources and your dollars. Number 4, I think probably the most important thing right now is staff self-care. They're exhausted, just like teachers are. They've been working with students through the pandemic, whether it's virtual learning or one-on-one or in small groups. But we have fully embedded self-care for all of our staff, because if they themselves aren't healthy and happy, they're really not of benefit to the program or students. So the SEL at the school sites is important, but we really are focusing on the staff that are providing these services and moving forward with ELOP. They're not getting a summer break. We're taking 11-month employees and turning them into 12-month employees, and they're doing summer. And before you know it, we'll have the first day of school in August. So self-care for staff is vitally important for us. Number 5, communication and relationships. We could never do it if we didn't communicate with those who we value and those that we want to work with. And we could never do it if we don't establish positive, engaging, worthwhile relationships. It could be something as simple as a phone call. It could be somebody in our community. And I know that I can pick up the phone call and I can call a regional lead, or I can call another program director hours away from our program, but those relationships are invaluable, and I can bounce ideas and thoughts off of them. And I know that the information I get from them will be honest and will be real. So those relationships are what will sustain our program moving forward, as they have in developing where we are today. And then lastly, it's my own personal to-do. It's the way I function every single day, is don't think it's not worth it, but create a to-do list. We all want to get it done now. And if you get yourself overwhelmed with all of these big picture things, it's just going to be really overwhelming. So create your to-do list on a daily basis and be so excited when you can check things off at the end of the day, because then you feel as though you've made those baby steps to create what could be a fabulous program 3, 4, 5 years down the road. But you can look back at those to-do lists and go, oh my gosh, it's amazing where we started and where we are today, and give yourself that pat on the back, congratulate your team, and be so thankful that you know, it's like that whole adage about how do you eat an elephant one small bite at a time. And this is exactly what ELOP is. Dip your toes in the pond, move forward, and look at success in small increments until you have this fabulous program 5 years down the road. So again, I appreciate you taking your time to listen. I'd be happy to share additional resources with you as we move through this process, but I'm a resource if you have any questions moving forward.
Amazing, Julie. Thank you so much. Let's all clap. You're so awesome.
Yay.
That was great. So Tim, are you ready for me to move on to Melanie?
Yeah, and matter of fact, I'm going to have a Hope School District trivia question coming up, so stay tuned. And also, I think everyone in the chat, feel free to throw other ideas out as people are talking. We saw some good things. We're looking for any good ideas you have. Julie Jarrett will come back in after our panel, and we're going to show you guys 30 or 40 great ideas she has set up in her programs.
So Melanie, take it away.
Drum roll for Melanie.
Awesome. Okay, everybody. Again, I have a small school site, 232 kids. And so what to do when your teachers are burnt out and you exhausted yourself through the pandemic. We ended up testing all of our kids in 2021, and we had two very great increases in ELA and in math. And so my teachers are exhausted. So you kind of throw money at them, right? And they're like, no, I don't want to teach summer school. I don't want to do any of that. I'm tapped. And so then that left me going, okay, what the heck am I going to do? So I reached out to some community organizations, and one is in our neck of the woods called the Zonta Club. And it's the Zonta Club is a bunch of women empowering women. And so they said, hey, I've got some curriculum that I can teach your young females as they're starting to grow into themselves and start to really navigate the world. And so they're coming in for free to do some lessons with our girls. I think it's 10 to 12 weeks. Then I thought, okay, well, what else can I do? Our kids love photography. So, okay, I know of a great local photographer in town and reached out to her, and she's also coming out to do some things with photography. And then I thought, okay, I know that I want some large group of kids, but I know that in my community, and they live so far from where my school is, a lot of them 10 to 20 minutes out. They're not going to want to come every day, spend the gas, because gas is well over $5 a gallon right now. And so how am I going to sustain a program? Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. They can come in and out as long as we're offering programming to them. It doesn't matter if they come in for 2 days and miss the rest of the time, or come in for 2 days this week, 2 days next week. It's okay. As long as we're offering our services to them, let's just get them in whenever we can get them in. And chances are, if we're offering something that they really like, they're going to beg their parents to bring them back the next day. So we've got both of those things going on. I've got a couple of teachers that really love art. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's do some things with art. And they were like, well, I can only be here for a week or 2 weeks. Okay, great. You take the first 2 weeks and you can take the next 2 weeks, or maybe we need a 2-week break and then you take the 2 weeks after that. And so I just want to encourage everyone that I was stuck several months ago, and I just kind of had to start thinking outside of the box, and that it's okay that students come in and out. It's okay to have kind of staggered programming, as long as we're offering something. Something is better than nothing. And the other thing that I want to encourage you to do is tap into your kids. What do your kids want? What's interesting to them that you can bring in to your expanded learning opportunities program and make them want to come, make the parents want to bring them, because that's the only way that we're going to really capture them and keep them for those opportunities that we're offering. I could probably go on and on, but I know that there are more people on the panel with amazing ideas as well. So Julie, tell me if you want me to keep going or pass it to the next.
So I think your ideas are amazing. You honestly have only talked for 5 minutes. If you have a couple of more ideas,
Oh.
we're ready to listen.
See, I'm very succinct, girl. We recently got an email from the Lego organization, which I also want to explore, because I have some kids who really like to build. And so, again, just reaching out to those organizations for things that kids really like to be engaged in. I know that there's manuals for all that stuff. So as I have parents, or as I have other staff that want to engage in those opportunities, I'm definitely going to reach out to those. But the theme for us is just what engages kids, not what we can do to make it easier on ourselves with our partnerships, but what do kids want out of us is what we're going to be doing with our ELOP funds.
Awesome. So Tim put up a trivia question. It says, trivia question, what event in 1862 drastically changed the town of Porterville where Melanie's school is located?
I don't even know that answer.
Come on,
Let's see if anybody
Come
gets
on, Tim.
it.
not an earthquake. It's not an earthquake.
Flood. Somebody said, Don
Flood?
said flood.
We'll give that to Lacey because
What?
he put flood question mark. Yeah, it wasn't gold. Gold was right before, but yeah, they had 21 inches of rain like in a week. And so it moved the Tulare River over and wiped the town out for a while. So
Well, that's
Lacey, I'm
opposite
giving it to
what we
you.
had going on about 4 years ago with zero water here in town.
I know, like you guys are out of water. Let's see, Lacey, go ahead and send us your email. Send me your email on the chat. Thanks so much.
Lacey
Other
is
ideas,
a brand
Melanie?
new- Tim, Lacey is brand new, newly appointed principal of Grow Academy in Shafter.
Hey.
Congrats.
Welcome. All right.
Cool.
Any other ideas, Melanie?
I think I'm about out. All I can tell you is, I mean, for what I've done, tap into your kids. What do they want to do? And then go from there. Again, it's those
Great.
local organizations. I even reached out to our local theater group. And so our local theater group will be coming in for a couple of weeks and doing a little production with the kids. Because I've got kids that love drama and we don't get to do that during the regular school year. So that's something that we can add on with our ELOP funds.
And
Good
for those
stuff.
of you who don't
Again, Melanie, it's
have
more
a
about
local
ideas.
theater group, Tim, for those of you who don't have a local theater group, look up
Yeah.
Missoula Children's Theater. You can hire them. They send out 2 people. They spend a week with you. You pay them money. They train your kids. They come from Missoula, Montana. It's college students. It's super cool. Check it out.
Love it. Let's drop down to Dawn because I know Amy's going to join us this afternoon. She can make today, but Doreen, I'm going to call her right now. So let's go with Dawn.
Oh, well, thank you. And all good ideas. I'm going to add just a couple of ideas to that list that you have already. And then I want to share something that I have on my screen with regards to finances. Have you guys felt like there's just so many pots, I can't keep them straight? And what am I going to spend on it? How does it link to my LCAP? I want to share with you an idea that we have out here for a spreadsheet that kind of helps with that. And I'll just show you the one we have working, but you'll have to create your own because this is not a shareable document. One of the things we've learned out here that really captures kids' interest, and it actually came from them, is like anything culinary. So I put in the chat earlier a link to it's called Edible Education. Click on that. They have these wonderful, they're not mobile, they're little kitchens on wheels. They come with and you can put your hand right on the burner and not burn yourself, but it heats up the food. We've started the baking club, and we have our ladies who, they're ladies, happen to be ladies that run this club, but they are part of our student supervision, or what we used to call yard duty staff. They said, yeah, I'll take that one. And we had the junior chef club, the cooking club. So click on that link, see if you can afford a couple of those kitchens. They have 10 stations. Anyway, they're wonderful. Elevate, what we did is we elevated our ACES coordinator to that position to an ELO program specialist position. We're about 1,800 kids, so we're not as small as some of you are that are like one school principal, superintendent. We're kind of a tweener. We're too big for direct services from the county, but too small to have everything in-house. But we felt like that would be a good use of these funds is to elevate that ACES position into an ELO program position and get us going with the planning. We want to connect with our youth sports that are in town. Some of our kids can't afford the fees to join, Junior Giants or SaberCat football or whatever. So we want to come alongside with help with equipment purchases, and when they use our facilities, we would charge a custodial fee. We believe we can charge that custodial fee to this program to help lower their expense and lower that rate for our kids. We want to see music explode in our district, and we don't believe that one music director over a K-12 system with 5 different sites can do it by herself. So we're taking some of our LCFF fund and our ELO program fund and creating a new position for some into the school day and some outside the school day to really, we're going to introduce strings and vocal and stuff here with the funds. Of course, we want to support the academic needs of our kids, and you've all talked about that, but we're really calling that out. We've got some kids, the youngest ones, during COVID, that critical year of first grade, second grade, where kids are learning to break the code. They didn't get what they needed, and we need to see that they get that. So that's really going to be called out for support in the reading interventions. Summer school is huge. We're doing the summer school more of a enrichment than a remediation, so that kids can really enjoy summer school. And of course, we've incentivized it, so we know that it's going to be a big expense right off the top of our ELO. So we're mindful of that. And if it's okay, Julie, I'm going to share my screen for a moment. I think I have permission to do that.
Yeah, you can share screen.
Okay, do you guys see this spreadsheet? Is that coming through?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's crazy. So I've got school, comprehensive school improvement, your ESSERs, your AP grant, and then here are the ELO program funds. You got Title I. Then I just started to build this for myself, but I linked all these. What's on the side are actions, and they might be LCAP actions. They might not be LCAP actions, but I couldn't keep it straight in my head. So I just built a spreadsheet, and I'm not a spreadsheet expert. And I get people who are that to help me, but I know how much ESSER $2 I have. I know how much ESSER $3 our district is receiving. And I got a sense about where ELO. And so I would encourage you to somehow, it doesn't have to be, look at this thing. It's because of all of our actions, but I'll tell you, maybe dizzy, but I'll tell you our business office appreciates it. And I can kind of appreciate it because I see, I can see where the funds are linked to an LCAP action, whether it's summer school, like here's summer school, we've got working this year. Where are we going to, that's my face. I'll get that out of there. How are we going to fund it? What do we think it's going to cost, and all of that? So for your superintendents out there, principals, business office people, if you haven't already done this, maybe you have, but begin to lay out what are these. So, we don't want to use the same dollars to pay for something twice. You can pay for it one time with one set of dollars. And I thought we were using ESSER for that. No, I thought we were using ELO for that. Weren't we going to put LCFF into that? This has helped tremendously to coordinate some of that. So I would just, maybe you guys already got it, or you're better at spreadsheet than I am, but I found that to be practical and useful. One other thing that I would, I mentioned the clubs, the culinary clubs. We also asked students, what is it that you're interested in? We found out that animation is huge out here. Kids want to learn to animate. And so we've got a staff member who they like to do animation. So after schools right now, Wednesdays from 2:45 to 4, we're doing the animation and a book club that meets. And I'm just taking the list from our middle school right now that I see. But find out what interests your kids have, who on your staff has any kind of interest, or parents. or in your DLAC, if you have DLAC committees, or ELAC, sometimes those members would like to become more involved on campus, but don't know how. And well, we're going to find that we're going to make that bridge for you to come in and do some fun things with our kids. We're really excited about the possibilities here. And I'll be honest with you, at first it was like, oh, this is, kind of like, oh, this is too much. And then the administrative team here and others, hey, wait a minute, this can be transformational. This can say, we want to be part of that school. We don't need to take our kids out to a charter or somewhere else to get these enrichment opportunities, and whether it's drama or music or dance, this can make our system. Just so you know, our system, we are right now running about 90% UPP. So we have lots of students with that have language poverty barriers that some would think is could hold them back, but we're not here. We're not holding anybody back. So that's a little bit about some of the things. I hope you find maybe that spreadsheet to be something practical, and then identify a person that you can elevate to a program coordinator there. So it's not all on your shoulders. I think Julie mentioned that she found that wonderful young person to come in and kind of take the reins in a way under her leadership, but say, what can we do? What can we make this turn this into?
Awesome job, Don. Thank you so much. You were phenomenally helpful. The spreadsheet is amazing and very positive. We love that. I think Tim wants to, we might share, are we going to share Julie Jarrett's slide?
Yeah, let's go to that. And I think that'll be important to go to that. And again, you guys, I'm also a huge fan of trying some new stuff, fishing, golf, skateboarding. There's some great stuff to do, and there's really good curriculum around all this now. We even stole some stuff from the 49ers at one point. But I'll have Julie Jarrett help join in there. But you can see Julie's work for over 21 years developing great ideas. We wanted to just show you, a handful of some of her great courses that she offers, and you guys could look at them and steal them. When I went to Julie about First Tee Golf, she looked at me like, yeah, let's do it, right? And so we actually had the largest rollout of First Tee. They have the 9 characteristics of golf, which helps kids with their discipline. There are some elementary schools in California that use First Tee golf standards as their behavior system. So kids don't cheat. They're nice. They don't throw tantrums like I do on the golf course. Julie, these are, these just don't happen overnight, but look what diversity you have to offer. And I think you said that each school can pick what works good for them. Is that it?
Yeah, it's really up to each individual school site, because as Julie says, you want to ask your students, what are their interests? We also ask our students to dream. If you could do anything, what would it be? And then we try to link a resource in the community to come on board to share in making those dreams come true for some of our students. This is an older list. We've expanded, tremendously over the years, but it's taken years to create the relationships that we need. And the thing that's interesting about relationships is they ebb and flow. Agencies come and go. And so that your list of partners or your list of collaboratives throughout your community, it's never going to be a stagnant list. You want it to have people leaving, you want people coming in, because you get fresh ideas and you get energized with different directions you can go in. But just really quick, I jotted down some of the partners.
Taylor, can you go to the next? Yeah, Taylor, can you go to the next slide? Because it ties into this one perfectly. I forgot about that one, Julie. Thanks.
There are resources.
Go to the next one. Sorry.
There are resources out there that everybody can tap into. One of them is the system of support through CDE. Everybody has a regional lead. Some relationships may be different than others, but the regional lead should be providing networking opportunities, professional development, directions for you to go in if you're leaning one way or the other, create relationships within the communities. So don't hesitate to tap into your regional lead. Some of the partners that we're currently working with now that is really open to everybody is the California State Port System. They have online virtual learning opportunities for students, so you can do field trips throughout California with a docent and without a docent. So there's something you can do right then and there. We work a lot with our outdoor education people throughout the region too, not necessarily just in Butte County, but throughout the region. We partner with the Exploratorium, the U.S. Soccer Association, the Butte County Sheriff Department. They come out and do drone exhibits and lectures on how to keep kids safe with not only cyber safety, but also safety while out on the streets and in their community. We're using the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation curriculum, which is a grade level specific curriculum on all of the CASEL aspects of SEL. And we spent some time putting it into binders, printing it out for all of our staff to use, and it has been fabulous. It transitions from grade level to grade level, so there's not any repetition, but it expands upon each individual student's SEL experiences and learning. So it's the Random Acts of Kindness curriculum. We partner with our community colleges, your universities. Don't forget the cooperative extension. They have 4-H, Master Gardeners, food and nutrition curriculum. All of your animal and service clubs, Lions, Elks, Seroptimus, Kiwanis, Rotary, The Grange. Tap into your local museums, health clubs, sports club, a local velo club. Sierra Nevada Brewery has a very strong bicycling club, and they give funds out to purchase bikes for low-income students and organizations providing opportunities to low-income students. So after school, summer, all of those are opportunities to you. But regardless how small your community is a community. So you're going to have people with certain levels of expertise. Berry Creek, unfortunately, before the fire, we used to laugh that they had a Grange and a bar. Well, what can we do with a Grange and a bar? And why is Berry Creek there? Well, it was a stagecoach stop between Rancho Chico and Reno, Nevada. And it's like, incorporate what the community has, what its assets are, and tap into those assets, because regardless how small they are, they have a community, and that community has their students and their children in their best interest. So regardless how frontier you are, tapping into the resources is vitally important, but also tapping into the regional lead on what those small isolated communities can tap into on the broader scale, whether it's the California State Parks or the Exploratorium. They can broaden their horizons however large they want.
Julie, I think, and a couple of things that she didn't mention. She once held like a fair, a food market, right? So the kids learned about the different vegetables because they were in extremely poverty schools. Most of them didn't know what vegetables were, and so each kid took home a big bag of vegetables as part of their program and their gardening and teaching kids how to eat well. But I love the fact that you use the universities and high school kids to staff some of your work, whether it's STEM competitions or actually hire kids. And I think that's where we want to move to the next slide, because we want you guys to have a couple more minutes with each other. Can you go to the next slide, Taylor? So you heard a lot from us, and I think we gave you guys some great ideas. We want to put you in one more breakout to the end and really share what more you would like to make things happen for your district and what other help you need. What do you need from CCEE? What do you need from SSDA? Keep putting that out there. We will follow up with you, and we're here to help you. So we want you to go back and meet some colleagues, share some best practices. What'd you learn from our panel? I do want to emphasize one more thing that Don said to me yesterday. He upgraded his position in after school to a much higher level. And you can see the intricate work that Julie's done in Butte, you get a good person, pay them, and things will come together. Funding, resources, and opportunities. So Don can share, he shared with me that he did that, and now he's putting that person to task. So if you're a coordinator or a superintendent, I think that's a conversation you have. This is going to be a much bigger program than we've had in the past. So get the right person there to do that. So let's go off, Taylor, to the end of time to
Let
Sounds good.
Okay. So let's see, 26 people are back. We had originally about between 44 and 55 people the entire thing, but it is 11:32. So we're going to go ahead with our close out. And this is school and community partners. It's talking about what to do, communicate, communicate, communicate. And developing relationships. One of the pieces of that, I've read several pieces of research related to this. And I think one of the really important pieces, when we're asked to write grants, to ask for money for our students, when we're asked to develop plans, when we're asked to do all these things, part of what we do is start with deficit thinking and explain our need. And that has put us in this deficit mindset. What we need to do is shift to an assets-based thinking and think about all of the phenomenal things our students bring to the picture. And so it's kind of, when you're building relationships, shift from deficit thinking to assets-based thinking, and work to strengthen our educational system by building capacity and have a shared vision and goals. And then also have a shared influence with your community partners. Julie Jarrett gave great ideas of like a lot of community partners. And you can look in the most unobvious places, but work to inspire and motivate and guide leadership and have them help with decision making. Share the responsibility, be collaborative in your planning and in your efforts. And have common goals and embrace those goals, even if they're not exactly the school district goals. Like I said before, you can have goals of like respect and teamwork and college career readiness, or some of those things that we can all buy into, even if they're not exactly a duplication of our school district goals. And then look at sustainability. We've talked about that too. Grow a culture that increases teamwork, that works to gain mutual respect. And like Julie talked about also, these partners all change over time. Things shift, people leave. And much of the, like we know, much of the partnerships are built on relationships, many of the partnerships. And when people are no longer there, we have to start again, or we shift and get different partners. But be flexible, be willing to move forward with that. So the very last slide, as we let you go, very next steps, and this is if you haven't started with a program, if you're starting from scratch, but you can also think about it as you align your ELOP funds to your ACES or 21st Century if you have them. Determine your available resources, identify and align your mission, vision, and goals, identify potential leaders, look for somebody out there who wants the opportunity, identify actions, activities that are already in place, and look for current opportunities to grow. And how can you add to that? What can you do? You already have homework help. What can you do to make that great? What can you already have track club? What can you do to support the track club? Look at those opportunities that are out there and start today. Our students deserve our very best. So we hope that you have had an amazing time here. We did have one last thing for chat. If you want to put in there, how can we help you? How can SSDA and CCEE help you? How can we help guide the work and move forward? So if you have comments to that in chat that you want to add, we deeply appreciate them. And also, I just really want to thank all of you for being here and for taking this incredible time out of your day, because we all know how valuable time is. So thank you so much for being here. Taylor, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you closed it out perfectly. Thank you everyone for being here with us today.
Thank you all.
Take care.